So, just as I was putting the final touches on the first episode of Spider-Man, getting it ready to go live on Saturday, completely out of the blue, a brand new trailer drops for Avengers Endgame. No warning, no announcement, just boom, there it is. So what I thought would be a good idea is if we sat down and we watched this trailer together, and then afterwards we can go through and discuss everything we've seen and what we think may be coming in the future. Because I've been having a lot of questions from you guys talking about Infinity War, Captain Marvel, and predictions for Endgame. So I figure this will be the perfect time to sit there and discuss all that sort of stuff. Prior warning, I have already seen this trailer once. I know normally with these reaction videos you're not supposed to have seen it because that's the whole point, it is a reaction, but I didn't have this idea until after I watched the trailer, and I thought it's still a good idea to sit here and actually it's a good forum for us to sit here and discuss everything that we think may be happening going into Endgame. So before we do watch this, real quick, any of you who haven't seen Captain Marvel yet, I'm going to try and keep this thing as spoiler free as possible, other than what is already in this trailer. Obviously if it's in the trailer then I can't not spoil it, but anything that happened in Captain Marvel itself, anything in that film, I won't be talking about anything that happened in the film Captain Marvel. Just all I'll be talking about is anything before Captain Marvel and anything that's gone into this trailer. But with that being said, let's give this thing a watch, and then afterwards we can give it a discussion.
God, seems like 1,000 years ago. I fought my way out of that cave, became Iron Man. Realized I loved you. I know I said no more surprises, but I was really hoping to pull off one last one.
That's a surprise right there, actually. Didn't notice that the first time.
The world has changed. None of us can go back. All we can do is our best. And sometimes the best that we can do is to start over.
Man, that color scheme is just perfect.
I saw all these people die. I keep telling everybody they should move on. Some do, but not us.
Man, they all just look so worn out,
There's
like
a small chance
totally
we owe
crushed.
this to everyone who's not in this room to try.
We will. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Mate, so ready. So ready.
I like this one.
And there she is, the moment everyone has been waiting for, the introduction of Captain Marvel into the MCU. And that's something I'm actually really interested in. It's the introduction of Captain Marvel, not into Endgame specifically, but just how she's going to interact with the rest of the Avengers and just the rest of the MCU cast. Because, again, not going to talk about Captain Marvel, the film itself, but the tone of the film is very different from the rest of the MCU films, or at least the rest of the Avengers films, I would say. Because obviously stuff like Guardians and Spider-Man, they have a complete tonal shift from something, say, like Age of Ultron or Infinity War is a great example. But then, as you saw in Infinity War, the comedy fit with the suspense and the drama. They always say sometimes comedy works or drama works in conjunction with comedy. They're such polar opposites, but quite often they work well together. If you have such a serious film, sprinkle in just little bits of comedy, not too much, but just little bits. It's a tension relief, and it's the same with comedy. If it's funny, when suddenly a big serious bit happens, it feels so much more serious because there's some sort of study done into it, but like emotion and like tension are both high on the emotional scale or something like that. So to go from comedy to tension, it just flows, and vice versa. So you can already tell that stuff like Guardians works well with the Avengers, and Avengers work well with Guardians, and the tonal shift was so different in Captain Marvel. I'm interested to see what our character's going to be like in Avengers Endgame. Obviously, it's a much more serious film. Not to say that Captain Marvel was a comedy, but there's a lot. It's going to be a hell of a lot of a serious film, especially after the events of Infinity War. So I'm really curious to see what our characters can be like interacting around with them. But before I get talk, actually, do you know what? I'll finish talking about Captain Marvel now, because if I go back, I'll forget about it. I know what my memory's like. So I do kind of feel like I feel like it's kind of be a given when she first interacts with the Avengers. So we saw that scene there with Thor, where she seemed completely unfazed by him calling his hammer, and he seems to see that as some sort of sign of respect. But sort of the same way, I suppose, Hulk and Thor have that mutual respect with each other. But I think it goes without saying they're probably going to butt heads when they first meet. I mean, it's kind of like a classic superhero trope. Two superheroes end up going after the same criminal. They both think each other's the enemy. They fight, realize they have a common goal, and then become either allies or, at worst, just have a mutual respect for each other. And if you look through the MCU, that's exactly how it's gone with any character introduction. The first time the Avengers got together, they all fought each other. The first time the Guardians got together, they all fought each other. The first time the Guardians met the Avengers in Infinity War, they fought. The first time Doctor Strange and Iron Man met, okay, they didn't physically fight, but there was definitely some verbal abuse going on there. First time Nebula met the Guardians, they were in direct competition. First time Vision got out of his box, they fought. Well, the first time Wanda came in, they fought. Like, it's just a superhero trope that they always butt heads and then join together. I don't think Captain Marvel was physically going to fight them, but there's going to be a lot of distrust, and there's going to be a lot of animosity to believe them. Like, this big, powerful being comes from space. That's going to be a little too on the nose. The last time a big, powerful being came from space, he obliterated half the life in the known universe. You know, making it perfectly balanced, as he would put it. But anyway. It's enough about that. Let's go back to the start. There's a few things that I want to talk about. There's a few things that I didn't notice the first time I watched this. This is why I always watch these 1,000 times. It's partly just because I'm so excited to see it, and it's also partly because I want to know more information. But before we do get into it, actually, my mind's going a mile a minute right now. Before we actually do get into it, one thing I like that they did with this trailer, it frustrates me, but I'm glad they did it, is they didn't show too much. They've showed loads of little clips, loads of little things to get excited, but they have not given any of the story away. Like, other than from watching this trailer, we know that Tony Stark makes it back to Earth, but I mean, it kind of was a given. I didn't really think they were going to finish the entire of Endgame with it just being Tony Stark and Nebula in space. That just wasn't going to happen. But yeah, other than small things like that, you see an Ant-Man walking around and you know he's with them, and you saw a rocket on a War Machine's shoulder, which, by the way, fantastic. Like, such a unique pairing, but just such a great scene. They haven't given much away. They've got little snippets of stuff that's going on. They've got you excited. They've given you the tone of what's going on. But barely any story plot points, and I love that. As much as I want to know more, I'm glad they haven't given us more, because I hate it when you go into a film and you can pretty much guess what's going to happen because the trailers give it all away. So many trailers do that these days, and I'm really glad with Endgame they are keeping it so close to the chest. But anyway, let's jump in with this. One of the first things I noticed, actually, other than the fact that I love like some of the flashbacks to how each hero became like a start to finish kind of thing. This here, I don't know how I didn't notice this the first time. That's the Guardian ship that Nebula and Tony Stark are in. Missed that completely. The first time I watched this trailer, I think I was just too excited. I wasn't paying attention to the details, but I figured that was Nebula's ship. But of course, that thing got destroyed when she flew it into Thanos on Titan. So I've just realised they're in the Guardian ship. I mean, if we go forwards, one little scene there. I mean, other than the fact it looks like it's been beaten up a little bit. That there at the front, where Tony Stark is behind him, that's where Gamora's seat was in the start of Infinity War. You know, when the Avengers, when the Guardians first come in, they're listening to Rubber Band Man. Back there was where Gamora was, and just to like our left or Tony Stark's right, that was where Drax was asleep. So completely missed that last time. Did not see that was the Guardian ship, and it's kind of like a nice little last little nod to the comics when Iron Man actually was with Guardians for a bit. Like, It was shortly after Guardians actually were introduced to the MCU. Their comic got kind of like a reboot, and it started off with the Guardians, like as the movie version of the Guardians, with Iron Man with them as well. I can't remember why now. I read it so long ago. I think he just went with them to help them on a mission or something or other. I can't remember now, but never noticed that before. So, I mean, we know from the trailer before that they were stranded at space. They were going to run out of food and water and oxygen, so it's not looking good. But something is obviously going to happen that makes them end up getting back to Earth. Or maybe they don't. maybe they die, and it's another version of Tony Stark and Nebula. Or although, to be honest, I'm putting my money on the fact they're actually going to make it back. So, skip forwards a little bit here. As we can see here, this is the same shot that was in the other trailer before, just showing complete decimation. All the boats in the harbour, just the fact you wipe out half civilization in the galaxy. There's got like society must literally just be running on a skeleton crew at this point. It must be literally the bare essentials like fire, police, healthcare. You know, a fraction of the government. Just it must be literally just everyone pitching in, doing what they can. I mean, if you actually look at some of the bits of the floor, like down where I've got the mouse cursor now, there's areas down there. It looks like it's like a post-apocalyptic film at this point. Just like the fact the lights are even on seems to be a bit of a shock at the moment. But the way everything looks and the way the characters looked as well, that was actually the next thing I wanted to get to. Not just Captain America. Oh, actually, I think it was a bit further on down here. I'm skipping over a few things I want to go back and talk over, but do you know, of course, yeah. It won't let me get to the point now. Let me go forwards one. There we go. But it kind of looks like they just look all so... Not rough. I don't want to say rough. But they just look so downtrodden and crushed and defeated. Like, literally everyone on the planet is in depression right now. And I mean, it's not surprising. Pretty much everyone, it's guaranteed everyone in the world has lost, well, probably half their family, if not all of their family. So, like... Everyone is absolutely crushed and defeated. It's almost like they're just on autopilot, like only just ticking over because it's just so ingrained in their DNA to fight and to keep going. And I mean, like even as he says in that scene there, he's like he tells everyone to move on, but like he just can't do it. Like, none of them can. It's just not in who they are. But they just look so defeated. And normally especially because of all the past Marvel films, there's a lull. They come across an adversary. The adversary gets the upper hand, but in the end they rise to the occasion and they save the day. And this is the first time that hasn't happened for him. And I think especially Captain America, he's been through the ringer. Like, yeah, he rose up and he defeated the Red Skull, and the Nazis lost the war, and the Hydra lost the war, or at least we think they did. And yeah, and then he gets chucked in ice, and he loses his day. Like, every time he does something great, he gets punished for it. And then he joins the Avengers, and okay, maybe that was a bit of a win. They actually just saved the day outright. But then there was Winter Soldier, and Hydra ends up being part of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the organisation he thought he was working with turned out to be corrupt, turned out to be bad, and they were using his best friend as a century assassin of sorts. And then you go forward to Civil War, he's fighting his friends. Yet again, the government's turning on him. Yet again, he's having a fight against what he thought he could trust. And then we get to the events of Infinity War, and then although he fights, although he does his hardest, yet again this big evil threat comes out, and this time they lose. Like, Captain America especially, I feel like, has just been through the ringer, and he's the one who probably has the biggest moral compass, and has the most I don't want to say heart, but like the most, I don't know, can't think of the right word, but goodness. I mean, like in Age of Ultron, he was the only one who nearly moved Thor's hammer. Like, he's the one who is near to be worthy. And I feel like even he's beginning to have his faith knocked. Like, how many times can he do the right thing and just see the worst? And I feel like that's what they're trying to get across here. Like, you see it in everyone else, but in Captain America especially, I think they've tried to make him look so tired. Just like they are just so worn down and beaten. And they say at the end of the trailer, just like, whatever it takes. And that's not normally the sort of Avengers motto. Normally, especially like, again, in Age of Ultron, like, they don't leave anyone behind. They don't, if one person was still left on Sokovia, then they counted it as a loss. And now they're going with whatever it takes. Like, now it seems like any sacrifice is is acceptable. But, which is actually something, again, I want to touch on a little bit later. Actually, who am I kidding? My memory's awful. Let's touch on it now. This scene here with Hawkeye, I mean, it's just one scene, so it could be absolutely anything, but this did make me think of that sort of thing, when the fact they keep repeating whatever it takes, and they are so crushed and they have lost so much, makes me think, obviously we don't know much about the plot, there's rumour and speculation, but it makes me think with Ant-Man and the fact they had the was it the tardigrades? I think they were called, when at the end of Ant-Man, when he goes into oh god, I can't think, the quantum realm. He goes in the quantum realm. They say if you go into I think it was like a time vortex or something like that. I can't remember what she says now. That, I feel like there's going to be a lot of alternate universes or time travel, or maybe a bit of both. And I kind of feel like with that, the end of Endgame is almost going to be like in a sense, a reset. Like, if they defeat Thanos and if they set things right, it's going to kind of almost go back as if to say Infinity War never happened. Almost like as if they go back, they stop Infinity War before it happens, and then that's how everyone comes back. And I feel like if that's the case, then everyone is fair game. And if that is actually how it's going to be end, like a complete rewriting as if Infinity War never happened, then I feel like almost each, if not every character will probably die along the way. Like, it doesn't matter if Hawkeye, Black Widow, Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, it doesn't matter if they die, because if they succeed, they'll all be alive anyway. And if they don't succeed, then, well, what's the point? So, yeah, I kind of feel like it's going to be literally like everyone's expendable kind of situation, like a darker version of the Avengers that we haven't yet seen. So, anyway, I want to jump back a little bit, because there's a few things I wanted to talk about that we haven't actually got to yet. So this bit here, this is a thing a lot of people keep talking about. A lot of people seem to going along with the impression that this could be Kate Bishop. In the comics these days, there's another Hawkeye, like a Hawkeye in training or a Hawkeye in her own right. I haven't actually read any of her stuff, so I couldn't really speak to the character. But a lot of people think this could be Hawkeye, a training Kate Bishop. I personally either think that's not the case, or this is going to be like the MCU's twist on it. I personally feel this is Hawkeye's daughter, because if you think Age of Ultron came out in 2015, I think it was. I'm pretty certain it was 2015. That was 4 years ago. This girl here looks like she could be anywhere between 13 and 15 or 16. Well, if you think Age of Ultron was like 4 years ago, that means she could have been anywhere between like 9, 10, 11, 12 in those films. 4 years, she would be roughly this age. So I personally think this is Hawkeye's daughter. It looks like he has his family in the background down there. I realise I keep pointing and you can't see me pointing. It's my first time doing this. Cut me some slack. But I reckon this is his family, and that's his daughter, and he's like, obviously, it's either just like a fatherly daughter scene, and it's got nothing to do with the future Hawkeye at all. Like, maybe I think it's just people reading too much into it, or if it is going to be the case, they might just make Hawkeye's daughter be the MCU's version of Kate Bishop, but obviously she's just got a different name. She'll be called, I don't know, Hawkeye Jr. or I don't know what our kids are called, but the look on his face, like, that's definitely a father and daughterly thing. Like, that's, I don't think that's necessarily him training her to be Hawkeye. I think it might just be them having a father-daughter moment, to be honest. And the reason why I think they put that there is then in juxtaposition with this scene right here to now show what he's lost. Like, that was his life, the snap happened, now this is his life. And obviously he must be feeling incredible, probably like a mixture of anger and guilt, because if he had helped to fight Thanos, might have had a different outcome. Obviously he doesn't know that, but like, obviously if he was fighting Thanos, same outcome, it still would have happened. But he doesn't know that. He probably feels like if he had come to help in Wakanda and he'd helped fight, maybe this wouldn't have happened. So he probably feels a hell of a lot of guilt and obviously a hell of a lot of anger, because I'm going to go ahead and guess his entire family got snapped. If not his entire family, probably maybe only his wife survived. Like, definitely his kids have been taken. And like, what else would fuel him to go, well, it seems like from this from like the background around here, going around the world on some sort of vengeance trip, or trying to get answers, or trying to make some sentiments of his life make sense. And looking from his costume, I've got to say that's probably got to be his Ronin persona. That just has to be. The background kind of looks like similar to the street in Doctor Strange when he's fighting Dormammu. Obviously, I don't think it's that exact street. It's probably just like a similar area, so it's been designed in a similar way. Like, but no, but it definitely looks like he's it just sort of adds to the whole persona of him being in his Ronin costume, looking at the surrounding area as well. There was one bit here, like a lot of people are saying, with Black Widow and Hawkeye. A lot of them are saying that them two are a couple now. I don't get that. Like, what? Because they hold hands, that now means they're a couple? No, it's like they are incredibly close friends. They've been through so much together. And I'm assuming Hawkeye's lost his entire family. And from the look of her face, this is probably the first time she's realised, yeah, this is him. This is probably the first time she's seen it since it's all gone wrong. And she's probably just heartbroken for him, and like it's a friend comforting a friend. I don't know why a lot of people seem to think this is them two now having a romance. Like, for anyone who's been in a relationship, if they were to die, you wouldn't the next day just pick up with somebody else. That's just not how it goes. But yeah, this color scheme that they were using, the first time I saw it, I thought it was a oh, there we go. I couldn't exactly get an image. There we go. I thought it was quite jarring, just the red, like the black and white with just the red. It was very reminiscent of the 10-year anniversary of Marvel Studios. But I think what it does is it's quite jarring when I first saw it. It's just weird just to have the one colour in there. But then at the same time, I think it does a perfectly good job because that's what they want to do. They're all of these good times, all of these light times where the hero always saved the day, and it was always quite comical. There were serious moments, but it was always jokey, it was always laughy, and it was just like a good time. Now it's like you're looking back on that with like a sour mind, in a sense. Like, you're looking back on it after this horrible things has happened, and those aren't good memories anymore because it's like, oh, those characters are lost, those characters are gone. And I think that's what they were trying to do here with the black and white. As we pause there on such a brilliant picture. Sorry, Falcon. That doesn't look like that's ended well for you. But I think that's what they were trying to do there. Just having the red, it's just sort of like it's just showing the destruction and everything that's happened. Like, yeah, it just seems to fit. It just seems really jarring just having the red on the black and white. But I think that's exactly what they're going for. They're just going for the decay and the destruction of pretty much everyone. But there we go. That's the next bit I was gonna. Man, it's really hard to find like the exact image you want. There we go. So this is the first clip where I guess we've got of Ant-Man coming back after he was trapped in the quantum realm. I personally think when he eventually gets out of the quantum realm, he is jumped forwards in time. If you look on the look on his face, this is confusing the hell out of him. Why are all these people missing? You look in the background, there's so much of the ground is overgrown. It's not well kept. People are clearly, well, there's not probably nobody left around to do it, but those who are around have probably got better things on their mind than trying to keep the place looking tidy. So you can tell he's got no idea what's going on, and I think that's what's happened. I think he gets out of the quantum realm, and for everyone else, it's been 6 months, a year, God knows how long. For him, like that, he literally jumped in, lost contact with Janet Van Dyne and everyone else, and then it's just come out in this weird post-apocalyptic future. And I think that's why, as we saw in the other Avengers trailer, he goes to the Avengers compound and he's like, look, you're the only guys I actually know what the hell's going on here. Like, if anyone's going to have answers, it's them. And I think that's where the film's going to pick up. It's going to probably be focusing with the Avengers and dealing with the aftermath, and then Scott Lang turns up, and that's when the story kicks off, I believe. Although I did look at that and think to myself, I bet there's a lot of people who started new lives when this happened. Imagine you were a criminal on the run, or I don't know, just your life was in a bad way. Boom, half the population's dead. How many people do you think pretended they just got dusted, like started a new life somewhere else? But anyway, let's jump forwards a little bit into this. There's a few other things I want to talk about. This scene right here. No, not you, Chris Evans. Go away. Go away, Chris Evans. There we go. You glory hound. But, yeah, this scene right here, just perfect. He's just Rocket Raccoon and War Machine. Whoever would have pegged them two together at the start. And his little goggles he's got on as well. Brilliant. Like, that suit he's wearing, he needs to keep that going forwards. Like, he really needs to keep that suit going forwards. It's just perfect. On a little side note, by the way, can I just mention, literally 5 minutes before I started making this video, it was announced on Twitter that James Gunn has actually been rehired to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which is perfect. I was kind of hoping Disney were just going to let enough time pass for all the story to blow over and then just hire him back, and that seems like that's exactly what's happened. So great, fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that. Like, there was nobody who should have done Guardians 3 other than him, and I kind of get the feeling that maybe James Gunn and maybe some of the rest of the cast knew this but weren't allowed to say anything until enough time had passed. Like, that's my thought. But unless you're Dave Bautista, who has been very vocal about wanting James Gunn back. But yeah, I just want to say that's great news, since how we were talking about Rocket. But anyway, getting back into this, those goggles and that outfit, I think it just looks amazing for Rocket, and it just looks really cool. And the fact that him and War Machine together, I love these combos. I love it when characters meet in a film and you see combos that you wouldn't normally meet. It's the one thing I don't like sometimes when they will have 2, 3, 4 different Avengers films, just for example, and then the same characters are always doing stuff together. That always bugs me. I always think, okay, we've seen that, let's see some other combos now. And the fact we saw Rocket Raccoon and the Winter Soldier, the fact that we saw Drax, Mantis, and Spider-Man in one scene, the fact we saw Doctor Strange and Iron Man. Like, I love these different combinations. I mean, War Machine and Rocket. Whoever thought that that was going to be a combo? And I mean, probably the fact that if this is a point where Tony Stark hasn't come back yet, they're probably using Rocket Raccoon to keep that War Machine suit going. With Iron Man gone, they need someone to keep the upgrades and that thing going. So who better than Rocket Raccoon? I mean, the rest of the Guardians are gone, Groot is gone. I mean, he needs to do something to keep himself entertained. I'm not even going to mention about Hawkeye's haircut. Like, some scenes it looks really cool, and other scenes he looks like he's in the Lost Boys with Kiefer Sutherland. So but and by the way, can I just mention, everyone likes to bash Hawkeye. I love Hawkeye. I don't know what everyone's hate is for the guy. I think he's awesome. Everyone keeps wishing he'd go away or die or something like that, but I love Hawkeye. He's freaking awesome. People need to pull the stick out their butts. Not everyone can be Iron Man, you know. That scene there with Cap, that looks incredible. That kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier on about he's just been beaten down so much. Like, look at that, look at his face. As the films go on, I feel we see more of a rage with Captain America. Like, you have the first Avenger where he's getting beaten up in the alley before he gets his powers, and he's just like, I can do this all day. And it wasn't necessarily an anger thing. It was like, no, I will not stand down to bullies. I will not let you win. As it's gone on, that's gone less of a I'm doing the righteous noble thing and more of an anger, like a I refuse to let you beat me. And you really see it in Infinity War when he's grabbing Thanos' glove, and even Thanos looks at him like a little bit shocked, like, how is this guy doing this? And he just literally has nothing left, and he just shouts at him just because he is just letting out that rage. And I feel like you see it more and more and more as each film's gone on, through Winter Soldier, through Civil War, even through Age of Ultron a little bit, because I mean that's where the seeds of the distrust are really coming down, when Tony and Banner make Ultron and then they make Vision afterwards. It just feels like every time he puts his trust in someone, he gets betrayed. And even though that's not what happened in Infinity War, I just look at this thing here and it looks like he's just Captain America at his, not his worst, but just at his end. Like, this is Captain America angry and just giving it all he has, and like you can tell this is him giving his last shot. Like, I mean, that scene there just looks incredible, and God knows what's happening there, but look at his face, like he is taking a pounding. It just that sounded wrong for some reason. Yeah, and then of course we've got this scene at the end where they've all got these special Avenger suits on. I doubt they've just made these fancy Mass Effect Andromeda looking suits just for any reason. This has got to be because they're going into the quantum realm, or they're doing something drastic. I mean, even they said in the other trailer, Captain America says, like, if this doesn't work, it's got to work, because I don't know what I'll do if it doesn't. And that's it. They've got to be doing something so risky, something so far-fetched, and as we see with Scott Lang right there, that's clearly what they're doing. They must be going into the quantum realm, either alternate universes or time travel or something. They are definitely up to something that is so far out of their normal wheelhouse that they need these suits to probably regulate like their vitals or their heartbeat or God knows what. War Machine, I'm assuming Rocket's down there somewhere as well. He's pretty down there on the floor. Confirmation, of course, that Iron Man is back with the rest of them. So, yeah. And obviously we spoke a little bit about Captain Marvel at the start, but yeah, at this point, what else is there to say? I'm just so excited. I've kind of hit that bit now where with this trailer, this has sated me enough. Like, I really want to find out more, but we're at that point where any more information is just going to be going into spoiler territory. So I think with this trailer, I've hit my limit. I've hit as much as I want to see. From now, I'm just going to keep myself to myself with regards to Avengers Endgame, and I'm just going to wait for the film to come out in April. Super excited. Cannot wait to see it. Yeah, and I think that's all. I think that really we've said everything that can be said at this point. Just so excited. It's the combination of everything from Iron Man 1 over the last 10 years all the way to this point. Can't remember how many movies it's been, 20-something plus. But anyway, super excited. Cannot wait for Avengers Endgame, and I'm sure when it does come out, we're going to be making another video like this, discussing it in great detail. But with that being said, I think I'm going to wrap this one up here. We've been talking about this one, I think, far more than we really should have. But yeah, what do you think of this sort of thing? This is sort of different for me. This is not the sort of thing I normally do. But if you like this, if you want to see me do more of these for like more Marvel films, for the upcoming Spider-Man, or even something like the X-Men or Deadpool stuff, or anything like that, let me know, and I will see about maybe doing some of this sort of stuff in the future. Having said that, if you want to see more videos like this going forwards, please do remember to subscribe and tap that notification button to be notified of all future videos going forwards. But with that being said, my name's Captain Dave, and I will catch you guys later.